Hi, my name is Courtney Edman, and I am excited to talk with you in this series of videos about executive function coaching and how executive function coaching promotes effective communication and planning for people of all ages. So I am an executive function coach. However, beyond that, I like to call myself a strengths-based coach for people who are neurodivergent, which can mean that someone may have ADHD, autism, dyslexia, dysgraphia, and effectively people who think differently, perceive the world differently, and may have challenges with executive function skills, which makes it a little bit more challenging for them to achieve the goals that they may have for themselves in life. And so I like to support people of all ages in empowering them to achieve the goals that they have in life, and working with parents as partners as well as other people as partners for the same purpose. And throughout this series of videos, we're going to talk about a variety of different things and take you along the journey about the different roles that team players have, what executive function skills are, what an executive function coach is, and what it might look like if someone has executive function skill challenges. The importance of a team approach is what we'll talk about today and in this video. And I think in several of the videos before this one, I talked about the importance of a team approach, but I really want to dive into more about what that means in this video. So for people who are neurodivergent, many times there are multiple people supporting the child or the person. There might be a teacher or teachers, depending on the age of the student. There might be special educator teachers, in addition to regular ed classroom teachers. There might be a guidance counselor, there might be a therapist, there might be an academic advisor if someone's in college. There might, and of course there are the parents, right? There might be, however, a team of medical professionals, whether that be the pediatrician or whether that be a psychiatrist or psychologist and social worker. I said therapist already. There might be a tutor. There might be somebody who is involved with something like social thinking skills. So there are a variety of people who might be on the team. There could be a speech pathologist, an occupational therapist, a reading specialist. So you get the picture. There could be a variety of members of the team working to support this person. And when we're all kind of like pushing and pulling and asking the student to do new things or do different things, if we can all be speaking the same language and working towards the same goal in a symbiotic way that builds off of the other and reinforces the same messaging that each of us in our individual time with our with the person we're working with our client, if we can all be sharing that same language and messaging, it can be so much easier for the person who's trying to absorb everything that we're saying and move forward towards a certain goal. And so for that reason, it's super important that everybody on the team be communicating with one another in a timely and effective way. It's similar to the concept of having a team in the school support a child. If that team is not communicating with one another, ultimately it's the child that loses out because they don't know who to follow if the team's not working collaboratively. So the example that I started with was a vast array and large team that might be supporting the student. But a team could be as simple as a parent, the child, and a coach. And the importance of the three being on a team and being seen as a team is because if I'm a coach working with the child and I'm using certain language and that's, empowering and inviting their voice and helping them create a vision of how they're going to get to the next step. And I'm not communicating and modeling and helping the parent understand the approach that I'm using, so that the parent and I are on the same wavelength when it comes to how we are approaching our student, their child, how we are going about this transformational change process to build executive function skills. What can happen is the child can get confused because a parent is talking to them one way, the coach is talking to them another way, and we need to be working together to help the child find the simplest path forward. And so the language, the approach, the understandings all have to be shared and understood and clarified if there are questions, in order for the child to make the most effective progress. So that's why having this team approach is so critical. It's in the best interest of the child so that we minimize the confusion. We all are working towards the same goals. We have the opportunity to ask questions and make sure that the coach is working within the family value system, that the families understand the what's, the whys, the hows of the coach's work, and so that the child can be supported not just in the time that they're with the coach working on skills, but they can also transfer them within the family and get the same similar level of support when with the family, which is where they spend the most time. And the same is true when they're in school. If we can be working to incorporate the skills in some way, in the same way that they're being introduced and supported in a coaching session in the school setting, it's the more opportunity the child has to practice it. And the more times they have to practice it and transfer those skills from one environment to the next, the more likely they are to build those skills over time in a more effective, efficient manner. So I hope that makes sense, the importance of a team approach. And so we've walked this journey of learning about executive function skills and coaching together through these series of 5 videos. And I hope you have gained a better understanding of the language around executive function skills, what executive function skills look like when they're present, what executive function skills can look like when they aren't present. They can be hidden behind behaviors. What the roles of parents and other professionals and an executive function coach can be in the process of transformational change and building executive function skills so that clients and kids and people of all ages can effectively create a vision for themselves in the future and take the steps to get there. Because in the end, we all want to get to where, to the goals that we have in life and live meaningful, productive lives in which we're sharing our gifts with the world. And when people don't have the executive function skills to get there, being stuck and not being able to do what they think they should be able to do is a really, really hard place to be. So I hope that this series of videos has been helpful to you in understanding why someone might be stuck, why someone might be avoiding things, why someone might be lying, why someone might be looking as if they don't care about homework, or they don't care about taking the next step or following through with brushing their teeth, not putting on their pajamas, not getting ready for bed, because it takes a lot of brain power, and we can't put our fingers on the insides of our brains to understand how they are operating. And when we can take this, curious approach and think about it from the lens of executive function skills are lagging, rather than it being a behavioral challenge or disrespect, or rather than seeing things through a behavioral lens only, rewards and consequence only, we can really have an impact and make someone's life better in the end. So I hope that in the course of these 5 videos that it will help you pause if you see someone having a difficult time meeting expectations, and you'll think, I wonder if they know how to do this. I wonder if they have the skills to do this. I wonder how I might be able to help them. I wonder what might be getting in the way. So thank you so much for sharing, taking the time to watch these videos to learn about executive function skills. And I hope it can inform next steps that you might be able to take with your child if they are struggling with executive function skills, so that you can better help them get the help that they need. Thank you so much. And if you're interested in more information about executive functions, about executive function coaching, and about, being a parent of a child who's neurodivergent, I invite you to check out my website as well as my podcast, which you can find on Spotify or Apple Podcasts, called See Me, Real Talk, Real Solutions, Navigating the Journey of Neurodiversity at Home, School, and Work and in Life. And that is with host Patty Lubold, who is also a parent of a neurodivergent child. So I invite you to check out those resources. There's also a YouTube channel that I have, which has a couple of videos on it, which might be helpful for you if you are interested. And it's To Tame the Shame. You can Google that on YouTube. You should be able to find those resources there also. And of course, the Chris Walsh Center continues to have more and more resources for parents with neurodivergent children, and definitely continue to follow them and check out the resources that they continue to make available to parents in the community. Thank you.